Good afternoon and welcome inside Bojangles Coliseum for another Checkers pregame live. I'm Checkers voice TJ Chillot alongside PA announcer Miles Conrad. We are getting ready for a huge two-game series here this weekend against Lehigh Valley. As the season winds down, playoff points up in the air. These are 4 huge points against a division rival that the Checkers need to get because their next 6 games all on the road, all against non-divisional opponents. So for Charlotte, this is a huge 4-game swing for them coming into this weekend. And for the Checkers, look, they roll into this one after winning their last game against the Springfield Thunderbirds on Wednesday night. Let's go ahead and roll the highlights as the Checkers took on Springfield right here in this very building. It was actually game number 2 of a 4-game stretch in 6 days. And for the Charlotte Checkers, they were bolstered mainly by Justin Sordiff, Trevor Carrick, 2 goals in that game. They would get an empty netter from Rasmus Asplund as well. Miles, what do you think was the key to victory there on that Wednesday game?
Well, that was one of the most important games of the season, TJ. Obviously, you needed a bounce back from the night before. That was maybe the most uncharacteristic Checkers team we've seen in years, really, TJ. Huge game to get back to their fundamentals, right? They dominated the game. They entered the zone fast. They dominated possession of that game as well. Those are big keys that are going to come into play this weekend with a very good Lehigh Valley team.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. And the Checkers, one thing, and we're going to talk about my keys to the game coming up here in just a little bit. It was nice to see some guys, particularly Carrick. It had been a minute since we saw him get on the score sheet, at least as far as a goal is concerned. And, of course, getting 2 in that contest was huge. Look, he's one of your leaders down the stretch here, right? This is going to be a guy that the Checkers are going to need to lean on pretty heavily throughout the rest of the season. It was great to see him get 2 goals in that contest. And Justin Sordiff, I know we're going to talk about him more in a little bit, but boy, the guy has just been absolutely
unbelievable. Unbelievable.
A little bit of extra fire, I think, in his belly from his NHL goal scored about a week and a half ago now in Nashville, his first NHL tally. So the Charlotte Checkers do away with the Springfield Thunderbirds. They earned the split on the midweek series, which is fantastic. You know, I know they were hoping for the sweep, but now that leaves them in a situation when we're talking playoffs. What is their magic number? And right now, thanks to the AHL.com, there's a beautiful piece, a PDF that's on their website. Any fan can view it at any time of the playoff primer. And this tells you how many points the Checkers need in order to clinch certain scenarios. So if you take a look, you can see it there up on your screen. If the Checkers were to clinch a playoff spot, it's recognized by the X column, which is third from the right. For the Charlotte Checkers, their magic number right now is 18 points, excuse me. Y would be to clinch the division. Z would be what they need to clinch the conference. So right now, as we take a look at it, 18 points for the Charlotte Checkers to clinch their playoff spot. So what does that mean? When we take a look at playoff primer, what that means is that for every 2 points that the Charlotte Checkers get, that number will go down by 2 points. Or for every point they get. If they lose in overtime, they still get a point. They also get points when the 7th place team does not earn any points. So for instance, right now, Hartford is the 7th place team in the division. If they end up losing tonight in regulation, say, and the Checkers win tonight, Checkers get 2 points by virtue of their win. They also get 2 points by virtue of Hartford's loss. All of a sudden, their magic number goes down 4 to 14. So the Checkers can possibly clinch before they even come back home after their road trip. When you think about it right now, they could earn, if all goes well based on the schedule, they can earn 6 points between today and tomorrow. They can get 2 by winning today and by Hartford losing today. They can get 2 by by winning tomorrow. Hartford is off tomorrow, so they can't gain any points there. But they can bring that number down to 12. And then from there, all they have to do is pick up 12 points in a 6-game stretch between themselves and Hartford. So it's very possible that by the time the Checkers play their next home game in this building after this series, that they have already clinched their spot in the Calder Cup postseason. From there, I know this is going to be a hungry team, and it's going to be go get the division. Because, again, if we go back to that playoff primer, which also tells you what's going on in the division and who's got however many points, we can see right there that it's a situation where the Charlotte Checkers could actually make it up into first place. Let's go ahead and pull that graphic back up so we can take a look. So for the Hershey Bears right now, they're in first place with 73 points. The Checkers right now, they're only 7 points behind, and that's not a lot. That is absolutely not a lot. So the Checkers can certainly get that done. So, Miles, we've talked a lot about the Checkers. We've talked a lot about what they need to do in order to get the wins here this weekend. And we're going to talk even more about that, but I want to interrupt that, and let's throw it over to the Lehigh Valley side. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, hugely important points up for grabs this weekend for both teams, TJ. Let's go behind the lines real quick with the Lehigh Valley Phantoms. Now, what you're going to see coming up, there's a few highlights I've put together here of the things that Lehigh Valley does right. First off, what you're seeing here, the quick rushes. Lehigh Valley has a great vision for the ice, especially down the ice, and that could be on the penalty kill. We've seen lately, TJ, Lehigh Valley's gotten on the board on the penalty kill, and with a power play that we believe is hopefully starting to get back, you got to be really careful in the power play because Lehigh Valley will make you pay, as you just saw. Other things they do, they're a very physical team, TJ. They always have a guy in front of the net. We have to be sure we keep the net front clear for a clear vision. Otherwise, Lehigh Valley, not only do they put big guys in front of the net, these are guys with great hand-eye. So the tip is usually available there. A lot of things the Checkers really have to do is what they did Wednesday night, TJ. Hold the possession of the for most of the game, at least if you can. Hold the possession, enter the zone well, strike on the power play, or right after. I mean, they had so much momentum from that power play on Wednesday, TJ. They scored right after it, right?
Yeah.
I think we're going to get into players to watch. Stars have to show up now. These games become more and more important as the days go on. And like you said, TJ, you've got an opportunity to go on the road, get points against non-divisional teams that the Checkers should be able to take care of business. We've already seen them, match up well with Toronto this year. But Lehigh Valley, don't overlook them. They're 6-3, 0-1, the same record as the Checkers in the last 10. This is a very hungry team that they're fighting for their playoff spot as well. A lot of things the Checkers have to look out for, TJ. Again, hey, get on the board first. Get on the board first. Slow down this Lehigh Valley team. I think those are a lot of keys that the Checkers are going to use to get the 4 points this weekend.
I think you're absolutely right. Look, they have a lot of motivation in this game, does Lehigh Valley, simply because if you look at the standings, they're only 3 standings points behind the Checkers. If they come in here and rip off a regulation sweep, wins in both games in regulation, all of a sudden, yeah, exactly. They just leapfrog the Checkers for positioning in the division. So you absolutely cannot sleep on this Lehigh Valley team. Now, the NHL trade deadline and some recent call-ups has left them a little decimated in their roster. They did trade for Nikita Grabenkin as well as Giovanni Smith, but both guys will not be here this weekend. They couldn't make it in time, likely to not play. We're likely to not see them this weekend. At the same time, the Philadelphia Flyers have recalled a couple of their better players as of late. Ali Lixell, who's a guy that seems to just crush Charlotte every single time that the Checkers take on Lehigh Valley, and Rodrigo Abels is also on recall. So those are 2 very potent offenses. So I'm curious to see what team we're going to see here from Lehigh Valley. I've had the benefit of seeing the first 2 games of the season series up in Allentown at the end of December. Checkers lose game 1 in a pretty close game. Final score of that one was 2-1 back on the 28th of December. Then on New Year's Eve, the Checkers just dominated.
Yeah.
And it seemed like Lehigh Valley was a team that was Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde in those 2 games. So what team are we going to get here tonight? Even though December 28th and December 31st was not that long ago, just over 2 months ago, these are 2 very different teams. When you talk about the injuries that have hit the Charlotte Checkers and some of the guys who have returned, and then when you take a look at Lehigh Valley with some of the missing pieces that they don't have due to either the trade or due to injury or due to call-ups to Philadelphia at the NHL level. So it'll be interesting to see what team we get. And these games right after the trade deadline are always a little unique. You've got guys that are very happy to not have been dealt somewhere, that maybe they were on the block, maybe they got a little extra fire in their belly, but also you've got guys that are kind of like, oof, okay, I didn't get traded. Maybe they kick their feet up a little bit. So we'll see if the Checkers can combat that. Right now, when you take a look at the season series, by the way, John Leonard, he has 2 goals and 2 assists for 4 points in just 2 games against Lehigh Valley. Leads all skaters in the season series. So he's certainly someone to watch. Not necessarily one of our players to watch, So let's go ahead and jump into who we think are going to be the key players in this series. And we're going to start, for me, it's Will Lockwood. Will Lockwood is a guy that the Charlotte Checkers need to lean on throughout the stretch here. He's had a great season with 18 points in 33 games, 8 goals, 10 assists. And when you look at him with 2 assists in his last 4 games played, 9 overall points in his last 13, Lockwood is one of those guys that's certainly turning heads on the ice. This is a Checkers team that is full of firepower. When you talk about Carrick, when you talk about Leonard, when you talk about Lockwood, I really want to see Will Lockwood cement himself at the top of the lineup for the Charlotte Checkers team in terms of scoring. Rasmus Asplund is another guy who I'd love to see turn it on. But for this series in particular, I think Will Lockwood is going to have a good shot against this Lehigh Valley team, which is a little decimated, especially on the back end. Miles, who are you watching?
I got to look at the guy that just scored his first NHL goal, TJ, in Justin Sordiff. He has been a superstar as of late at both the AHL and the NHL level. Obviously, getting his first marker in the NHL, like you said, over a week and a half ago. Huge moment for Sordiff. And did you not just see his confidence soar in a way after getting that NHL goal?
Yeah, it did.
The last few games for Justin Sordiff, he has taken over the games. I mean, him and Trevor Carrick, TJ, I mean, we were talking before the show. They were the game. Trevor Carrick and Justin Sordiff. Sordiff can take over a game. Like you said, they're a little decimated on the Lehigh Valley side. I think Justin Sordiff, along with a Will Lockwood, can really take over this weekend series here. Look for Justin Sordiff, not just goals. He's been scoring wonderful goals. Look at his setups as well. He's going to get on the sheet with a couple apples as well.
Yeah, I think what we're seeing from Justin Sordiff is certainly catching the attention of those in the Florida Panthers camp. They're obviously very well aware of who he is. They drafted him. They know what he can be. But when I look at Justin Sordiff, and this is just conjecture on my part, I think we're seeing our last games of him as a Charlotte Checker. I think eventually next season he earns his spot at the NHL level, especially with some of the expiring contracts and some of the situations that are going on with the Panthers. So I really hope he can make the best of it here and help the Checkers go on a deep run. And I do think he's going to be really, truly key as we move forward. And you know what? Speaking of keys, why not? Let's dive in. Instead of talking about the players that are going to make it happen, let's talk about my Hendrick Acura keys to the game. And we're going to start with my first key to the game. They have to keep Lehigh Valley down. This is a Phantoms team that not only lost to the Checkers the last time they saw each other, and it was a pretty ugly loss, as a matter of fact, but it's also a team that comes into this one having lost 4-0 to Hershey this past Sunday. So they're coming in licking their wounds, having to travel here, thinking about it the whole time. You know, I know coaches like to say, let's put this behind us and move on. But sometimes you still think about that 4-0 loss.
Oh, yeah.
The Checkers have to take the momentum that they gained by beating Springfield, roll it forward, and at the same time, just roll it right into Lehigh Valley, who's coming in limping after losing that game 4-0. So that is my first key. And you alluded to it earlier, score early, score first, get on the board. I think that goes a long way in saying that. But also, I just think that the Checkers, if they can continue their pace of play that they've had lately, where they're getting a lot of shots and they're not allowing teams to get a lot of shots, I think that just sets them up for success in this game as well.
Absolutely.
My second key to today's game, it's a pretty easy one, as a matter of fact. Secondary scoring. We saw Justin Sordiff. We saw Trevor Carrick. Both of them score in the game on Tuesday. But if you take both of them out, all of a sudden, what do you have? And yes, Ben Steves, fantastic game from him. 3 assists on the contest. But I want to see some of these other guys step up. A Wilmer Skoog, an Oliver Okuliar, maybe one of the younger defensemen like Alsher and Havorka. I know they're not known for being guys that are goal-scoring defensemen, but I'd love to see them step up in this game. But I'm looking at a handful of guys on this roster who can get it done that we haven't seen in a while. We need them to come to life. You can't just ride John Leonard, Justin Sordiff, Trevor Carrick from here to the Calder Cup. You just can't.
Right.
You need a full team effort, so I'm looking for that secondary scoring. And my third key to today's game, generate high-quality chances. This is something that they did a great job of on Wednesday night, but they did not do a great job of on Tuesday. I want to see them keep with it. When you look back at the game on Tuesday, where the Charlotte Checkers just looked a little anemic, it seemed like they're passing out into the slot predictably. They were being intercepted. They were not getting any dangerous scoring chances. They started generating some of those the next night. Got a couple of odd man rushes. And yes, it was nice to get Vadim Zarenko out of there early. And Colton Ellis, props to him for how well he played for Springfield, only giving up the 1 goal on 50-some-odd shots that the Checkers threw his way over the course of basically a game and a half on Tuesday and Wednesday. The Checkers are going to still need to get that done here today. They've got to get the high-quality scoring chances. What do I mean by that? Breakaways, odd man rushes. When you're on the power play, deadly opportunities side to side. Get that stuff done. And if the Checkers can get that done, in my opinion, they're going to get the W here today. So, as we take a look, we've got a lot going on here. It's International Women's Day. We celebrate all the women, not only in sports, but women everywhere who make this world such a better place to live in. We've got a lot of great elements that are going to be going down right here at the Coliseum. If you don't have your tickets yet, they are selling out pretty quick, so head to charlottecheckers.com. Get your tickets for today. We're going to have a lot of fun. Actually, on the broadcast, we're going to have a lot of fun as well. COO Tara Black is going to join me in the first period. We're also going to have Kendall Smith, the in-game host, joining me for color analysts' abilities and capabilities in the second period. So tune in for all of that on AHL TV, on Flow Hockey, WAME Radio, and of course the Charlotte Checkers app. But we'd rather see you here in person. And if you can't make it here in person, as always, you can listen in on those outlets. But head to charlottecheckers.com anyway. Check out what we got coming for tomorrow as we celebrate Gaston County. Talk about a new look for the Checkers. They become
unreal.
The Charlotte Ghost Peppers. Check out that custom jersey. The team will be wearing those tomorrow in the matchup against Lehigh Valley. Such a good look as we celebrate our friends, the Gastonia Ghost Peppers in Gaston County. The baseball team, which is getting ready to start their season. It's right around the corner.
Unreal, TJ.
Absolutely. So make sure you head to charlottecheckers.com, get your tickets for today, get your tickets for tomorrow as well. So, Miles, before we let everybody go here, let's talk about our predictions. What do you think?
Yeah, TJ, like we said, I think this is a uberly important game for the Checkers here. I think this is a game where you've got confidence from your previous game. Get back to your game and get it consistent. I think that's what we've lacked lately, TJ, is consistency. Get back to your game, your fundamentals, your consistency. Because, again, when they're on, there's not many teams that are going to beat the Checkers in this league. And that's not saying that as a homer. That's saying that's how much talent is on this team right now. Look at the future NHLers. Obviously, we already talked about Lockwood and Sordiff. Play the right way. Don't take stupid penalties. I know this is the coach speak in a way, but don't take stupid penalties. After that, TJ, I think if they can stick with that, I love the Checkers winning this game 4-1 in a dominant fashion. I think this is, you put your foot on the gas pedal, you play your game, you play like you played against Springfield this past game, and you're going to have the same results today. Like you said, depleted team, make them pay for that. They've been thinking about that loss all week. TJ, make them think about it more. I love a 4-1 win here.
Yeah, I like where your head's at. You know, I've told a number of people this week, you know, when you look at the Charlotte Checkers roster up and down, if they can all put it together during the same game, we might have ourselves another record-setting night in terms of goals.
Absolutely.
Because this roster, I mean, Jesse Puljujarvi is on the team. I mean, unreal.
Unreal, yeah.
What are we talking about?
It's crazy.
Here? Sort of. Puljujarvi, Lockwood, Leonard, Okuliar. If these guys can get things moving, Rasmus Asplund, I mean, if everybody puts it together, then you talk about the defenseman, Benning, who can score.
Yeah.
Cardiff, who can score. This is a tough team to beat anywhere in the NHL. And I think it's that consistency. When you get 75-80% of these guys playing at their, season prime at the same time, that is a recipe to go deep. It's very scary. I think your head is right on. I think it might even be higher scoring than that here today. I'm going to predict a 5-2 win for the Charlotte Checkers, maybe even a 6-2 win.
Sure.
I can absolutely see them tying their season high in goals in a game, which is 8, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
Because this is, if they can dial it all in, they've just got to take that momentum from Wednesday and roll forward. We'll see what they can do. But it's going to be a great one here at the Biscuit. A lot of fun for International Women's Day celebration. Broadcast hits the air at 4 o'clock, as does the puck. It hits the ice at 4 o'clock. Make sure you head on over to AHL TV, get your subscription, tune in on WAMEradio.com, And if not, get your tickets, charlottecheckers.com. They're going fast. They're still available. Come on in, hear Miles Conrad in person. You don't have to just hear him over the airwaves on the broadcast as well. But we'd love to see it. It's going to be a great weekend here at the Bowplex. For Miles Conrad, as well as our producer and director, Justice Wallace, thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Checkers Pregame Live. We got plenty more coming up for you this year. Stay tuned Saturdays, 2 hours before every single puck drop. Checkers, Phantoms, coming up in just about an hour and a half. We'll see you there.